Hangouts.
When am I going to make a big one? We're live right now. That's the biggest you're going to get.
I guess that was a pretty good intro.
Exactly.
He's just going to capture that and replay it every time he starts a hangout now.
Everybody get ready for Quark Rumble! Oh, we're live.
Welcome to Saturday night Potluck Chat. If Ed Jack's out, he's gone. Just so you know, I'm giving him his fair warning right now. But I'll do a quick intro and then we'll get started on the topic of EDC ammo, since it gets asked a lot by the people out there watching. Hopefully this will help answer a lot of questions for everybody, including myself and those on the panel too. First we got Ralph D. Cat, otherwise known as Black Guru.
What's up?
We got gun websites. Hey, G-Webs.
How come he gets top billing over me? I don't understand.
It's left to right as I see it.
You need to be AAA G-Webs,
Right.
and then you'll get front billing.
What's going on?
We got One Bad Marine. I'm not doing Edge here, so One Bad Marine.
Welcome.
Okay, Edge, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Make some mother. No. So Ed 4006, man. Appreciate you checking the chat out.
All right, we got Nathan's Armory.
Happy Saturday night, everybody.
We got Stone Guy 223. Stone Guy, you there?
For me,
I
it's
guess
always
so,
this mute button is like slippery or something. It doesn't always work with my mouse, so that's why I have a delay sometimes. I don't know what Stone Guy's problem is.
Stone Guy. He's probably getting yelled at by his wife.
He's in the critical weekend time. That's family time.
Right, I do have the links out to a lot of people, but if anybody out there listening wants a link on gun channels here, just let me know, and I'll send the private messages here, and I'll send you a link, or you can send me a link, or you can ask for a link through YouTube as well, and I'm checking both. Because I'd like to get a full boat here. I was hoping Yankee come in. You seem like you want to talk, Yankee wanted to talk about this, but of course, Yankee probably forgot already. And I do have a link out to a new guy if he shows up.
Oh shit, did I miss introductions? I just got back.
Yeah.
Yes, you missed introductions.
We introduced you as
And
the gun out there.
This
And the
isn't
prizes Quark was handing out at the beginning. It was awesome. Too bad they ran out.
This isn't a One Bad Marine chat where we start at 5 to 15 after.
Yeah,
We all
right.
got a P-Mag except for you, Stone Guy.
Damn it. Oh, Ralph's here, though. I hadn't seen Ralph in forever. What's up, brother? What's up?
One of those 40 round mags.
I'm going to say Stone Guy just got P.
R. Kelly style.
I don't think
But,
that Yankee
listen.
didn't. I don't think Yankee forgot about it. I don't think he really has anything to add to handgun CCW ammo. Doesn't really seem like he really has an opinion on it.
Nice throwdown.
I don't think he knows anything about it. I think
I'll
he
send him
just
a
buys
text.
stuff he sees on the shelf, rotates it.
All right, and this will be a quick question. And then we can start discussing it after everybody gets a chance to speak what they carry for ammo. So what is in your carry guns? What do you prefer? We'll start with Ralph.
Pretty much Spirit Gold Dot exclusively.
G-Webs?
I also try to use Spear Gold Dot most of the time, and I do.
Edge?
Currently, new carry gun, I'm using Critical Duty plus P 9mm.
Luke?
Sorry, I was having trouble with the mute there. I am exclusively carrying the U.S. Liberty Defense USM ammo, whether it be 9mm or 45.
Nathan?
I have Liberty Defense in my 9mm, and then I have Federal Hydroshock across the board in my 45s.
And Stone Guy?
Right, 95% of the time I'm carrying Spear Gold Dot. and I just recently got turned on to the Corbon Powerball. So I've got one magazine loaded with that for each of my carry guns also. So, but primarily Spear Gold Dot.
And I'm with Stone Guy Ralph and G-Web's on this one. Spear Gold Dot here as well. Now we can have a little open discussion on this. Anybody got a problem with anything that we do carry?
Well, why don't we start it off real quick? I've got some ballistic charts of what I carried and what I've shot. We've done some testing with a chronograph and some ballistic stuff. I've got Spear Gold Dot running 40 Smith & Wesson 165 grain. Okay, my average velocity was 1,165 feet per second with 21-inch penetration and a expansion of .580. So I know Marine had some ballistic charts pulled up.
All right, I'm going to have to extrapolate a little bit because I don't have all of them packaged that same way. But so in the Liberty Defense ammo, it's a 60 grain projectile traveling just shy of 2,000 feet per second. The kinetic energy, or the foot-pounds of energy to the target, is 500 foot-pounds. Its terminal effect is 3.5 inches of the forward edge of the projectile spreading out, and it's getting approximately 12 inches depth of penetration with the base of the round that doesn't fragment in ballistic gel.
And that was on a 40 cal. That's a 40 caliber.
Yeah, 40 Smith & Wesson.
And that's only a 60 grain projectile.
Yep.
Damn.
I do have to say that the USM stuff does look impressive in ballistics tests.
But I look, this will come up, it'll keep coming up, but the main thing that I'm looking at with this ammo, because yeah, it's not going to be quite as good at some aspects of hardware penetration. In other ways, there's still a little bit to be found out in field tests. But what I look at is instead of having a, what did you say, some guy yours expanded to 0.9 inches or something like that?
0.5 something.
0.58, yeah.
Okay, so instead of having a quote-unquote permanent wound channel of 5/8 of an inch, you have fragments going out to a 3.5 inch circle. So to me, what that means is if I hit, anywhere near the heart, I have a lot more fragments that have a chance to hit a major artery or vein and cause, that severe blood loss that needs to take somebody down, versus one little wound path where if I miss anything major, it's going to take longer for them to go down. So that's sort of what I'm looking at.
Well, the detractors from that would say that by the time that yours starts to break up, it's already so small that it's not going to do anything once it does hit something of substance, right? If it hits a bone or even like a thick organ or something like that, that's what I hear people are against, like frangible type ammo or the USM4, is they're like, yeah, it'll dump its energy, but as far as what is moving along is like, is it going to nick an artery, is it whatever, that stuff's like powder.
No, so I guess this is what I'm looking at. Now, I agree with the fully frangible rounds that other companies offer, that it's basically powder fragments going in there. This stuff, it's a full copper projectile. All it is copper with the plating on it. So you have copper shards, which are a bigger fragment, if you will, going out doing the damage, instead of little pieces of iron oxide powder chunks.
Yeah, it's solid copper in the projectile. It's just very thin with a giant cavity, like any other solid copper bullet would be. It's not powderized type stuff that turns to powder.
Mm-hmm.
And most ballistic tests show that it breaks off into like nine or 10 pieces, and
Right.
then the half of it, the base, retains and goes through things.
Yeah, the base will always continue. Well, I shouldn't say always. For whatever energy it has, it will continue on. And it generally, at least in ballistics gel, it's somewhere between 10 and 12 inches in the ballistic gel for the base, regardless of what the front shoulder does.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that stuff. I mean, hell, they had a booth at SHOT Show that someone did a video on, and it, I mean, it looked impressive, but I don't know. To me, I would rather have a bonded round that's going to stay together so that I don't have to work, because you're limiting yourself. While I'll give it to you on just a straight up soft tissue, target, that's a phenomenal round. But you're limiting yourself to the application of that round. If you ever had to get in a barrier situation where you had to shoot through glass, or you had to shoot through a drywall or a door.
Well, look at it this way. So it's not going to have near as much mass, but granted we're traveling at higher velocities, that's the higher foot-pound energy. But the base of that is solid copper. Most of your other self-defense rounds is a copper jacket over lead that's expanding. So you're driving a piece of solid copper for that remnant that's going through. And I haven't really got to see what it does with glass, but I've seen what it does with sheetrock and plywood, and it just goes through it just like a ball ammo would, almost.
Well, I'll say this. I carried in just my small car 9mm, and I carry normal self-defense rounds in my big 45s. And the reason I do that is my small car 9mm, I'm probably only going to use that sort of a pistol in a point-blank confrontation. It just is not accurate out to distance. So it's going to be very close range, and it's going to be basically, multiple shots from the hip type scenario. But, when I carry my bigger 45s and stuff, that would be something that might get into hard barrier penetration or something like that. But I still, the thing about a 45 is it's going to make a big enough hole, it don't matter.
Now, I'll tell you the thing I do like about that Liberty with the ballistics of that stuff is it does lend itself well to be used in a small gun like Nathan was talking about with the car, and that's KARH or KARH or something. not the CAR. KHAR, yeah. Not the car. When you said car gun, I bet people were thinking just the gun you keep in your car.
No, I'm not talking about I just have it in my car to shoot through the windshield with. No, nothing like that. It's a pocket pistol. It's a lightweight
trailer gun.
But if you guys have noticed, they've made some rounds out there. Some ammunition manufacturers have actually made some ammunition specifically for handguns with a faster burning powder. I think the judge and the governor kind of inspired the ammo manufacturers to make a round that was going to, burn out faster, and that's shorter barrel.
You want a faster burning powder so that it reaches high pressures in a very short period of time.
Right.
Is what you want to focus on.
So I don't know if you guys have seen that, at your ammo store, but I know Speer, for one, has made a .22 long rifle in a handgun only load. It's specifically designed for those small Derringer type handguns and stuff like that. So that's why I was saying about that Liberty Defense, with that being a high velocity round, even out of a short barreled handgun, you're still getting tremendous velocity and good ballistic coefficient with that Liberty Defense.
I'd just like to go on record and say that I don't think it was the Taurus anything that it prompted them to make that ammo. I think it was I think it was the newer, more open-minded CCW laws that are prevalent everywhere, and the demand, I think.
And the popularity of handguns that are 3 inches or less with barrels.
Right.
Small
People are
hand.
able to carry concealed, so now there's a
Yeah,
market.
That's
look at
true,
how many
yeah.
people carry 3-inch 9s now. In the past decade, it's probably quadrupled in the number that are out there.
It's probably close to
Before civilian
that's-
carry, police officers don't get an option to carry a small gun of their own. So
Yeah, they were carrying
definitely
long
we're the 100. I would say 90+% of the market for sure.
Yeah, that's
I got a
true. I
question
didn't
for you
think about
guys.
it that way, but that's a good point.
I'd put an educated guess that 75% of concealed carriers aren't sporting a barrel over 3 inches or close to that.
Well, I'm glad
That's
the
personal
ammo
information,
manufacturers. Yeah, I'm glad the ammo manufacturers, responded to the demands. That if it is just the fact that there's more short-barreled offerings on the market, and as consumers we're gravitating towards those, and then the ammo manufacturers, see that and obliged us with an ammo that worked.
I got a question. I know you watch a lot of videos on the UFM stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see anybody that were shooting through ballistics, through drywall into ballistics? I want to know if that cup fills up with sheetrock or other obstacles, other whatever it's going through before it hits that ballistics.
No, when the one that I saw, it didn't go back into ballistics, Joe, but you could tell that it had shed the front jacket when it went through the sheetrock, 2 layers of sheetrock. So when it hit the second sheetrock wall, it was just that all copper base, like a big slug of copper. So there was nothing to fill up because it had already shed the jacket because it hit it so fast.
Thank you. I was going to go search for it if you didn't know. See what I could find out.
Big slug, you already have a 60 grain, and it's just the base. So it may look like something substantial, but I just don't think. I don't know, man. I can't wrap my head. I get the idea behind it, but the actual practicality of it looks good in gel, but I think once you put I'd like to see some bones in there, and what happens to whenever there's different mass of items.
I don't have the particular video brought up, but there's one where they're shooting at ham hocks and stuff like that, so it's more true tissue instead of ballistics gel. And they did side by side with Spear Gold Dot and other stuff, and then this stuff. And put it in raw form. So the other calibers punched a small hole through it with a little bit of tissue damage along the hole, and this stuff was turning it into a freaking hamburger, basically. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to see it myself. I'm just one of those guys that I just want to see it myself. So hopefully I'll get to go to their demo that they're putting on, and
I think you'll come out of it pretty impressed.
Pretty much everyone that I talked to that went last year they were fairly impressed, and they're kind of a pain in the ass like me too. So.
And I'm going to throw this out here because I just found out about it recently, but they're now offering it in 380 for those that are carrying the smaller pocket guns. So that's really cool because I thought that them picking up that part of the market would strengthen their product. So.
Well, especially with the new Glock coming out.
I have a question I wanted to ask because we have a couple of 1911 guys in here. Do you, I mean, obviously you have magazines, right? Even if you don't carry a 1911 all the time, you have several magazines set up with home defense ammo, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you use plus P in those in any of those magazines, or do you just stick with your
all plus P
heavy grain?
Self-defense.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
Right.
I'm on a 1911. So that's just
all mine are modern guns, so I don't have to worry about splitting barrels or anything. So there's no reason not to carry a plus P.
It's a lot more rare to find plus P around where I'm at. So
Spear Gold Dot.
I don't specifically look for it.
We have a
not buy it.
Pretty available. Like I was carrying before this stuff, I carried Hornady Critical Defense plus P, but my local stores carried it, so it wasn't hard to find. It was just a couple bucks more a box.
All right. Is Nathan there, or are you gone? I take it he's gone. I was going to say, he said he's carrying Hydroshocks.
Yeah, they do make a Hydroshock in plus P.
Yeah, I remember
out there.
Ammo from the 80s, too. Hydroshock.
I've used Hydroshock. I shot it all because I was not pleased with the ammo.
So have you guys thought about the legal ramifications of running exotic ammo? And not necessarily that it would make the difference between,
If
guilty or not guilty. I'm not saying that, but it's just something else someone can bring up. There's one thing I can always say about gold dots is that's what the FBI carries primarily, or at least they used to my knowledge.
right.
So that conversation's done, at least in my opinion, if that ever comes up, right?
Mhm.
Like if you want to carry stuff someone's never heard of, I don't know, it just opens a door for more of a pain in the ass. It's not like it would be the difference maker, right? It's just something else you're going to have to hear about it, So
And you're going to be taken to criminal and civil court.
Right.
So what might not make you guilty in the eyes of the law might, in the eyes of a jury, make you owe money to somebody if they thought you were out there being a crazy person.
Okay, so I can only reply to my personal path to getting where I was. But if I could only find this stuff through mail order, I would agree with that argument. But it's available in several different locations. I mean, I travel the whole Northwest and I'm finding it everywhere. So it's commercially available, and to me that's enough. It's not like it's a boutique ammo that you can only buy from online sources or something like that.
I agree, and it's also marketed to be, it's not like that RIP one, which would have questionable marketing. It's marketed to be more effective, so you're choosing this because it'll do what you want it to do faster.
Right.
Yeah, that's my thing with that RIP is just the name alone can get you in trouble.
Right. Plus, I haven't seen RIP in any of the gun shops that I frequent, and I get to see a lot of them in my travels.
I had a thing, since we're talking about your USM4 stuff. My question, or I guess I've thought about this because we've talked about it in previous chats lots of times, and I think the way to sum it up is, are you willing to bank your a lot of investment on theory? And I say that not because I don't believe in ballistic gel or I don't think ham hocks are a good indication, but the difference is, like Ralph said, that the FBI uses gold dots, the Border Patrol uses them, lots of law enforcement agencies use them and have used them, so there is historic precedence. There's cases of them being effective. If there was any indication that those, and I'm not suggesting gold dots are the only option, I'm just suggesting that if you have something that's been used throughout time and there's actual written evidence of its performance, you already have actual, instead of just theoretical assumption, because we're using something to test it. And I guess for me, I don't care about the courts so much as just, sorry, there's a wicked echo now. So much the courts is just the efficiency of it, or the effectiveness of it. For me, I want to make sure that it works. And although it might sound great on paper or in all of the different testing, until I see lots of uses of it not doing any of the things Ralph's concerned about specifically, then no way am I going to carry it. I'll watch with interest and see how it performs over the years. But the reason I went from Hydroshock to gold dots was because Hydroshock's a lot of marketing and gold dots work.
Yeah.
Right. So I gotta
look at the test of the gold dots. They may not be the best at everything across the board, but they're constantly like 8 and 9s.
Right.
Well, and not so much the testing, but the point is that they're in use with departments that have massive liabilities on the line. I was all about Hydroshock. I have tons of Hydroshock. I loved it, except that once I actually thought about it, I'm like, well, wow, nobody really uses it.
I'm gonna put out a different look at this. Okay, so if you look at the 40 Smith & Wesson, it was basically derived off of the 10 millimeter.
It's like a perfect round
to do well in the FBI hard barrier penetration tests. And it does awesome at it because that's what it's designed for, right? So, and from what I've seen, and the only negative report I've heard was from Masad Ayub, but I trust his opinion. And what his opinion was, in the few law enforcement instances he was aware of, is it's over penetrating when you don't have hard barriers and stuff and not effectively taking people down. That's what he said.
Right. When you don't have the same requirements out of your ammo as they happen to have had, it doesn't mean it's perfect for everyone. That's for sure.
Right. So that's part of the reason that I don't own any 40 Smith & Wesson calibered guns, because it's great for hard barrier penetration, but I'm essentially planning on a soft target situation. So if you put it in that frame, you know, it's right where I want to be. And as far as the ballistic gel goes, it's really hard to quantify, but just even in watching, because I've watched dozens of videos on the gel testing with this stuff, and if you look at a standard round when it hits ballistic gel, you get a pressure wave that comes through the gel that sort of builds up going through the gel, but that wave doesn't really affect the whole block until it's about, let's say, about 12 to 14 inches into the gel. When I see this stuff used, the bullet enters an inch, inch and a half, it expands, and the pressure wave all hits at the front. So you're getting all of that energy dumped in what I would consider the body cavity for our purposes. And you also have, on average, 100 foot-pounds more energy being dumped all in that one spot, instead of, you know, going through 9 inches of flesh and still dumping energy into the wall back behind them. So it's that immediate transfer of energy right in the body cavity, plus the fragments that I see as creating that disturbance you want to affect the person and eliminate the threat.
I hear you. I like the concept, and I don't disagree with the theory there. I mean, it seems to do what you're talking about.
And you know that they made those rounds, those blue tip safety slugs. There were the rat shot inside a piece of plastic.
No, it's something different.
I think that's the other side of the extreme of totally frangible. So, you know, I kind of do like the USMC that it is basically half of the round will frange and the other half stays a solid copper core. But, you know, it's 6 1/2 dozen of the other. I mean, whether it dumps it early or not. Now, speaking to the hard barrier penetration, as self-defense carriers, we do not have the same requirements in a shootout as police do. They have no choice but to engage, no choice but to
and I'll tell you from
follow.
a law enforcement point of view, most of the shootings that involve law enforcement and a suspect there's generally a car involved. Like a very high percentage of shootings happen inside a car. The officer shooting it, having to shoot inside a vehicle. So that's
your concern is the windshield and the door penetration.
Right.
Yeah, and then, you know, then I totally buy that the 40 Smith & Wesson in a standard, like a Gold Dot, is superior. They've got a different profile on the 40 than some of the other calibers that seems to lend itself to going more straight through windshield glass, because most people don't realize it, outside of us, that when you hit windshield glass, you're going to get, because of the angle of the glass, the round's getting knocked off line. With a 40, it gets knocked off line less than with like a 9mm or 45, you know, or whatever. So you don't have to aim as low on the windshield to hit the person where you want to hit them. But, you know, yeah, for that, the 40 Smith & Wesson is awesome, and I'd want a spare Gold Dot if I was trying to shoot somebody through a windshield. But if I'm shooting somebody through a windshield in a self-defense situation, most likely I'm going to jail because they don't provide a threat to me.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Hold on. I think that's definitely
not necessarily true.
No. They're behind a very lethal weapon, and you can't stop that very lethal weapon by shooting its tires or its gas tank or any moving garbage. The only way to stop a moving vehicle is with the operator behind the wheel.
Right.
Well, I'll give you that, but you know what I mean? It's not like...
I agree that very rarely are we going to get into that situation.
The chance that somebody's going to try and run me over and I'm trying to shoot them through the windshield to stop them is very low probability.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say.
Whereas with law enforcement, it's very high probability, because a lot of, like Stone Guy's saying, is a lot of times they're dealing with an individual in the car because that's where they run into them on the road.
Right, and with us, if we feel our life's in danger, it's usually from a threat within a few feet of us, not in a vehicle. You know, we're being attacked as a victim, and then we have to defend ourselves. It's totally different than a cop. Cop is but is typically not attacked as a victim. They're attacked by people trying to get away from them. They're engaged, but not like us, where it's just somebody right on top of them thinking we're harmless.
I don't know. There's arguments to be made either way, and I would really love to see the video that hopefully Ralph's going to get with some of the hard barrier shooting and stuff that it sounds like they're going to do at those demos, because it'll either solidify my opinion or make me look at it again. But
Are you saying that you're going to do those windshield tests you were talking about was for the Liberty M4?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not specifically doing them. They're coming into town to demo for primarily police and local other agencies. And they put on like a Saturday and Sunday, like 2 demos on Saturday and then 1 on Sunday kind of thing. And they invite the officers there to shoot the ammo. And I guess I got a flyer. I think I gave it to somebody. But there's a flyer, and I guess last year everyone who went was real impressed with it and stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, I asked them if I could, if I videotaped, if I could put it on YouTube, and they'd be all right with it. And they encouraged it basically. So
that's a good sign. If they believe in their product like that, that's a good sign.
Yeah. And I want to bring this windshield thing up that Luke mentioned, and it is true. It's like shooting at an angled piece of steel. Where does the bullet go? It goes whichever way that angle is.
Well, I like to think of it as like to a 40, a windshield is like a soap bubble, but to like a 9mm, it's like the Great Wall of China. So it's just really your ammo.
Right, but it still gets deflected up.
Yeah, and
right.
and because I haven't seen direct windshield testing, with the higher velocities and the lower mass, how it's going to react to windshield, I'm not a scientist to know, but it could be that because that you got that huge cone and that shoulder that can deform, it may hit the windshield glass and go through straighter than one that has a more solid mass to it. I don't know. So it'll be real interesting.
You're saying it may react like a solid because the front will just crumple.
Right.
No,
it may do better. I don't know. But it's one of those things you got to shoot one and see. I don't have a pile of windshields laying around to shoot at right now.
Oh, you left your pile of windshields somewhere?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what I was thinking. But
All
right, now that we talked about this, Nathan, you carry Hydroshocks in your other guns?
Okay, and I'll tell you exactly why.
Well, first off, the 80s called and they want their ammo back.
Yeah.
Oh, burn!
I've been carrying Hydroshocks because of the way they've been promoted and because of their popularity since the late 90s. Basically, that's been my carry ammo. And it wasn't until recently I started getting into chats with you guys that I started looking at TN Outdoors videos and stuff, and I figured out that there's a lot better stuff than the Hydroshocks. But
I was going to say the HST is they're actually Hydroshock 2s.
I know.
It's a huge improvement, and if you like the Hydroshoks, you're going to love the Hydroshock 2s.
Now, you got to give him some credit. He's not carrying Winchester silver tips.
Okay, but here's the thing is I've got enough Hydroshocks to fill up all my 45 mags and then some. To go out and purchase all new Spear Gold Dot or any other, or HSTs or any other type of new self-defense protection ammo, I would have to spend over $100 to do that. And out of 45s, I just sat there and I'm like, you know what? It's a flying ashtray. It's coming out of a 45 and it's a hollow point. It'll probably get the job done.
And just because there's something more effective doesn't make it ineffective. It's still a very
I'm saying there's better stuff out there. I'm just saying in such a large 230 grain bullet, I don't think that there's a huge difference. Now in the smaller, lighter weight bullets, the design of the bullet has much more of an effect, in my opinion.
Well, and that's a good point because I did a video on that. On the 9, it was just 9mm. But I don't know if you guys remember that. But basically, I just laid it out, and there's so many different ammo manufacturers and different configurations and hollow points and grains. But ultimately, there's not that much difference in actual effect or effectiveness. I mean, they're all pretty, across the board. Yeah, I'm looking at some of my tests I've done from.
Okay, so, we're just real quick, Stone Guy. So I just want to throw this out. So what the stuff that I carry from Liberty Defense, or for my 45, has a kinetic energy of 600 foot-pounds of energy. Other than like a 44 mag, you aren't going to find too many rounds that are putting that much land power to a body.
Yeah, that is a ton of energy.
How much energy did you say again, one bat?
600 foot-pounds.
Really? I'm about to check that out. Seems like a lot.
Here, I'll show you. I'll send you the link.
Okay. Well, I mean, what I would say about a 45 is if I carried a 45 with solids in it, I wouldn't feel that bad about carrying that. Now, if I carried a 9mm with solids, I wouldn't do that in the self-defense scenario, but I might carry solids in a 45 because they're still effective. But on the flip side, that's why I'm not so worried about carrying outdated 45 hollow points, because even a solid is effective in a 45, and
Yeah, those
from what I'm
ones.
told.
Most of those ones are running in that 465, 485 foot-pounds. So I mean, they're not. I mean, compared to a 45, that most of those are averaging around 300 foot-pounds. You got a lot more energy. But in my opinion, more energy is better when it comes to this stuff.
Alright, G-Love's kind of hit on what I was going to do, or not G-Love's, Nathan did, excuse me, on evolution of your carry ammo. How should I phrase this?
How many steps did you get through to get to the
current exactly, thank you.
Now,
the current carry ammo.
Well, that's a good one. We could do that, but I also want you all to think about the fact of is it evolution or is it marketing?
I think it's
Well, we're not talking about the evolution of technology. We're talking about, or what Cork is asking, why or where we came from and where we got to, right? Or why?
Yeah.
I think it comes to exposure and education and product changes. There's a lot more products available now than there was even 10 years ago. So.
Oh,
But
exactly.
to answer Stone Guy's question, I think that's worth addressing too. That's a separate question, but I think it's worth addressing.
I would say
that is
just
worth
the
it.
availability with YouTube to be able to watch ballistic gelatin tests of rounds to see what each one does helps a lot to make a decision too.
Oh, definitely, and that's part of the whole thing with the YouTube and the videos you can watch. You can see how a certain round acts when it goes through, and I'm using. Is it TN Outdoors 9 or is it Such that does the ammo test? I always get those
TN
two.
Outdoors 9.
10 outdoors.
10 outdoors, 9
Do you
in the
even
video.
watch
See how they're
YouTube?
doing the
What?
standard FBI test, because that's what he does. He does the 4 pieces of denim into
Right.
the ballistics gel. And you
Yeah.
can see
I'm
just
so glad
the
he's using
test.
clear gel now too.
And it's sort of funny because I've
Is it
recommended
FPS
to
Russia
guys.
or Quark that likes the cats?
Yeah.
Well, I always get those two confused. It's
But
just
TN
different
Outdoors
names.
9 had a negative opinion of the ammo that I like, and I just tell people, go watch his video, but turn the audio off so you don't have to hear his negative impressions, and just watch what happens to the ballistic gel when he shoots it, and then watch
And
one of his
see-
other videos with another ammo and watch without
see,
the sound
I
on and see
watch-
what you see.
I watched his Liberty Defense one and listened to him badmouth it, but I looked at what it did in the gel and I said, I like that effect. That's what I'm looking for, even though he didn't like it.
All right, now we're going to go back to my question. We'll get back on topic here. Sorry, I know you guys. We're still on topic, but off the current topic. Let's go with the evolution. Again, left to right here. We'll start with Ralph.
Evolution of carry ammo?
Yeah, what did you start out carrying, and then
What
changed
influenced
to,
you?
if you can even
Oh,
remember?
man,
the-
I'm not really.
Now. Why did you do all that?
Really, it's more. Well, I got a good deal on Golden Sabers, and they were always. I think they're in a federal. They're bought by federal agencies, so that's about the lowest that I went for hollow points, and I've strayed a few times, but I always come back to gold dots. So I haven't really. I don't think I've really bought anything else in quantity and carried it as much or shot as much. I mean, I've even had reloads because I'm pretty sure you can still get them, like the actual bullets only for components. So, because I've had guns that hollow points shot more accurately than round nose. So, I knew guys that ran them for competition actually, because for them they actually ran better and they flew. I don't know why. If there was more attention paid to the bullet themselves, you know. So, Yeah, I knew guys that competed with him, so that's pretty much my progression.
I'm sorry, I was looking on the screen. G-Webs?
So I grew up reloading, and I didn't really. I paid attention to bullet weights and specifications and that, but I guess there just probably wasn't a heck of a lot of marketing. So bullets were bullets, kind of thing. You built them or you bought them, for the task, but it wasn't as competitive, I don't think, or at least I didn't notice it being as competitive as now. So then I think the first ones that I actually bought because I gave a darn was those the Hydra Shocks. I thought that was the whole concept of, if people don't know, Hydra Shock was supposed to send a shockwave throughout the body to break all the hard tissues up as it created this shockwave as it hit your body. And I don't know if that is actually true or not. Like I said, I suspect there's probably a lot of marketing in there, but I thought that was great. And the fact that somebody actually built something that was designed to do more, as much effect as possible, I thought was great. And I think, I'm trying to remember, but at least in my mind, I was aware of those after Black Talons, but Black Talons kind of came and went. I wasn't carrying back then, so it wasn't, I might have bought a box or something, but it wasn't like I was carrying around the gun, so I didn't buy those. So it was definitely the Hydra Shocks, and then, like I say, once I started paying even more attention, Gold Dots got on my radar, and I haven't really switched because nothing in my mind has replaced their, in a lot of ways, the same way I like Glocks. They do their job, and they do it effectively, and they're kind of like the quiet, consistent. They're coming second place, first place occasionally, second place consistently, and for me, that's what I want, something that's consistent and effective.
Well said, Edge. You there, Edge?
Edge doesn't like to have to follow something like that. You think he just left?
Well, I think Edge passed out. I wish he had his camera on. Great screenshot. But we'll go to Luke.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, had to grab the mouse. So I needed to mute like Stone Guy was, or Stone Guy does. But anyhow, I started out with probably the worst, in my opinion, of all the ammos that I had with the Winchester Silvertip, just because I wasn't paying that much attention, and I went to a store and it was a hollow point, and that was what I grabbed. Then after some education, I moved on to the PDX-1 for a while, and then I liked more of what I saw with the Hornady Critical Defense, so I went with that. And then recently I made the final switch to the Liberty USM ammo and its different designations for my different caliber firearms. That was my sort of chronological progression of education and graduation between manufacturers.
All right, Nathan.
Well, I remember back last century when a guy
Last
owned a gun
decade.
shop told me a story. This was in the 1990s, and he was talking about how the Hydra Shocks that had a thing where if a cop shot a perp with a Hydra Shock in the torso and he did not go down, they would give him I believe it was a Colt Python or Colt Anaconda, one or the other. I think it was a Colt Python.
That's a lot of help if you're dead.
Well,
this ammo is not effective, and you live.
But that was part of their marketing scheme to say, if you use our ammo and you're a cop and you shoot a perp and he don't go down, then we'll buy you an expensive revolver. So that kind of hit home with me, saying, wow, they really believe in this stuff. They really think highly of it, that they would have that sort of an offer, put their money where their mouth is. So that's why I bought it, and I also had the little tip inside of it that supposedly helps it expand or whatever if it hits. And I was like, oh well, okay, whatever. So, but I just like the look of it, the marketing, all that, and it was the main thing on the shelf, and everyone seemed to endorse it. So that's why I bought it. And since then, for my 9, I bought the Gold Dots, and then I saw the box of the Liberty, and so I bought the Liberty. And one of the reasons that I've switched to the Liberty is it's a pocket gun, so anything I can do to drop the weight of it to make it more comfortable to carry in my pocket, I like.
All right, awesome. Stone Guy. I know what your answer is going to be because it came in a pretty box.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, though, you know, our duty, what we were issued at the sheriff's department was Spear Gold Dot. So I carried that primarily, you know, from I don't know, last 10 years maybe. But all the time, I'm always a sucker for the pretty box and the, you know, the latest thing. So I mean, I've tried everything out there. You know, I carry consistently the Spear, but I'll buy. You know, I bought the PDX one and the you know, Critical Duty and the Gold Dot or the Golden Sabers, and you know, I've had Hydra too. You know, a couple decades ago, but
How about the Hydroshock 2s? They're
the
pretty
HTS,
plastic
yeah,
box.
I've had the HTS and the HRP. You know, like I said, just about I try everything. Just, you know, because I'm a sucker for that marketing thing. You know, if it's in a pretty box and they got some good marketing behind it to you know, reel you in, you know, I'll give it a try. But like I said, in my experience, ultimately, all those different manufacturers and different weights and all that stuff. I mean, there's not one that's really separated itself as being a superior round.
On a side note, I just wanted to let you know that we do have a new version of gun channels available that's only $100 a month, but it comes in a very attractive packaging.
Is it shiny?
It doesn't offer any other features, but the new marketing. But
As long as
It's got foil letters now.
yeah, it's as long as it's got a hologram and foil lettering and stuff like those Barnes.
Is it packaged in a Tesseract?
Yeah, I tell you what. But no, I mean honestly, that's a marketing's a big thing for ammo, and I think as consumers we all, you know, kind of fall for that.
Can I take a quick side tangent? I'm gonna anyway. The 7.62x39 ammo, I'm a big fan of. I collect, and it's interesting when you look at every other country that makes 7.62x39. There's two ways that they package it, like two different ways that they can cram it into a box. So the box either comes out really square or a little bit more. But if you look at U.S. made ammo, it's always like 4 times the size, and it's, you know, the same way you buy 30-06 or 30-30, you know, in those kind of long rectangle boxes where there's 20 of them in there.
Yeah.
But much larger, and I'm convinced that has nothing to do with, you know, the fact that it takes up more room in a truck and you can only deliver a portion of the amount of quantity in the same truck. It has to do with that's a lot more real estate on the box to do their marketing and their branding.
Also, it's a subliminal thing where it's like, if I buy this, I'm going to get big ammo.
Exactly. This is even bigger.
I'll even point out, like with the Liberty Defense, you're generally getting 20 rounds a box where a lot of other manufacturers are 25 rounds. So they put them all in the little tiny thing, and then they put a cardboard filler in there to make the box look bigger, like the rest of the ones that are on the shelf.
Make it square.
You know?
Yeah, like and almost twice as much for it or more, but you know, it looks cool. It looks like I'm getting a lot from it.
Yeah, I was pissed off when I opened that box and saw that little cardboard filler.
Right?
Yeah, I was pretty upset.
All right, Edge, did you hear the question?
Gather the context. You're talking about what ammunition, why'd you buy it?
No, it's the evolution. What you started carrying, why you started carrying it.
He's not getting paid the same as the rest of us, is he?
No, he's actually
He pays pork.
Well, when I first started off, you know, my ignorance, I was there loading my first gun, 45 with FMJs, and then I started doing research, learning more stuff, and then I found out, hey, it's such a smart idea after all. And I started off with Golden Sabers. PDX one was kind of easy to get at the time. I started throwing more out, and I've just kind of gone through my favorite round. One of them for 45s is you know, the Ranger T. But now my carry gun that I have now, the reason that I ended up going with critical defense or critical duty is one. It was available when I purchased the pistol. It was on the shelf there, and it was recommended. Has good reviews, and it's plus P. Glocks. I usually don't have a problem shooting a plus P. I've taken it out, I've tested it, and that's where I'm at now. The reason is, yeah, it does have a real pretty box, but I've shot critical defense in the past before, and several other Hornady rounds. Confident with them, and I like the product.
All right, I guess
I was going to say real quick that was a good point because he mentioned the fact that he took him out and shot him and was confident or built his confidence with him, and so I just wanted to say that real quick to everybody. Whatever ammo you buy that you decide to carry, don't just buy it and stick it in your gun based on the reputation or the review or the video you saw. Make sure it works in your particular firearm.
Yeah, test it with the semi-autos.
Yeah,
Sure.
buy 2 boxes, shoot one, and then load your magazines with the other box. But definitely test your carry ammo.
Especially
just
1911.
because you start working 100 guns
Clean my guns
gun
after
that you have
range.
doesn't mean it's going to work in your gun.
Yeah, like Ralph was about to say, especially with 1911s, they have a lot steeper feed ramp, and a lot of hollow points do not feed well in a 1911.
Yeah, that's one thing I
Pretty
like
sure
about
Ralph
that.
was also good.
That USM ammo has a nice radius to it, and I did testing in mine, but I was pretty confident even before I started testing because of the profile of the bullet.
Yeah.
I will tell you that my 1911 has no trouble ever feeding any hollow points, but I had to build a shrine to John Moses Browning beforehand and pray to him, and that's how it works.
Okay, I still haven't answered this yet, and I'm the last one here. I started off with the Hydra Shocks. Why? Because when I bought my gun, that was what was recommended. I didn't do any research on the ammo. I did tons of research on the gun, but being an idiot, I didn't do research on the ammo, so that's what the salesperson recommended, and that is what I bought. And then after I had it for a couple weeks, I'm like, well, there's a lot of different carry ammo I could choose from, so I started doing my research. And after doing my research, I decided that I'm going to use the Superior Gold Dots. 1, because my local law enforcement uses it, and 2, because of how consistently it performs. It may not win every time, but it's always in second place. But I want to take a second here to introduce the new person. We've got Ryan in the chat here. After Link, I'm glad to see you can make it in here tonight. Ryan, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody out there, your YouTube channel if you have one? If not,
You're muted, buddy.
Yep. If you're not familiar with these things, well, there you go. You got it.
Well, actually, I'm on my phone. I'm kind of working on my phone right now because my phone. So we're trying to get it. So I figured I'd get it as soon as possible on the phone. It's a little bit easier. So, but no, I've got a YouTube channel coming out called Redbeard Tactical. I'm also with a gun rights group called Gun Rights Across America as the Twitter guy. So if you see any snarky comments or anything about that, that's me. So that's pretty much all I've got going on right now. So I'll throw it back to you guys.
Great, just mute yourself when you're not talking because we can hear if you got like television on in the background or somebody talking in the background.
I'll help him out with that. He's on his phone.
I just want to take it and welcome you. And yeah, I'm just like him know the rules, like we all have to follow.
Very
topic now.
Very nice, Houston guy.
Well, we're still working on the carry ammo, and I'm going to ask.
Oh, I know,
him
but I mean, oh, okay.
I was going to ask him a few questions once he gets back here, but
I was just going to bring up the concept of what about using a lesser recoiling ammo to get more effective shots, or is it always bigger is better? Carry the biggest you can.
No, I mean, I'm down with that. That's
So it sounds like that's one of the reasons Yankee previous years on that M4 stuff, and I think Marine, the less bullet weight means less, science, less recoil, and that means faster follow-ups. And
Oh, hold on one second. Yankee went from carrying 357 SIG to carrying Liberty and 9 to now carrying a 38. Okay.
Yeah, he's having a midlife crisis or something because
he changes ammo design and weight specifications.
Well, we'll discount Yankee, but I'm here to tell you that the recoil impulse is equivalent to a standard FMJ round, and your shot-to-shots are definitely way faster than a plus P shot-to-shot.
And here's the dynamics. Whenever you are shooting a lighter weight round, the felt recoil typically is less. The other ballistic benefit of shooting a lighter weight round is they're able to put a faster burning powder in and keep the pressure down. So the heavier the bullet, the more initial pressure it takes to move it. And so in a short-barreled gun, the lighter the round, typically the better the performance. Just if you're loading rounds and stuff, the heavier, like if you've ever reloaded, the same powder, you can put more in the case with the lighter bullet than with the heavier bullet without going past Sammy specs.
And I also want to bring up that felt recoil is different for everybody.
It is.
I'm a big guy. My recoil response may be different than Luke's.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this much: I didn't do it as a regular thing because they don't recommend it, but I did use plus P's in my PF9 for self-defense, and it was rather snappy. And with the USM ammo, it's like shooting just regular pressure loads, and it's a lot more comfortable and definitely a lot faster getting shot to shot.
Luke, you're going to have to get rid of that PF9, man.
It's not currently in the carry rotation, but I don't know that I'm ever going to get rid of it just because people tell me I have to, and I don't do what people tell me to do.
No, I mean, hey, look, you're talking to a guy that carried one for a while myself, but I'm telling you, the trigger on the cars are so much better, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now it got replaced with the Smith & Wesson 908, which is a little bit bigger gun, but
I think it applies to ammo and our firearms, but just again, kind of mentioned it before, but just because there's something better doesn't mean what you have isn't useful or effective, right? Just because they come out with a new model doesn't mean that just the older stuff doesn't have worth. So
right, and again, the Spear Gold Dot and the Federal Hydroshock, both in a self-defense scenario, are probably going to both be perfectly adequate for stopping the perp.
I'm going to have to call bullshit on all that because the guy at the gun store said every time we get something new, you have to come buy it.
I'll catch a ton of flack from the overall community, but I would have no problem recommending a PF9 with the Liberty Defense ammo to a female shooter because of all the compacts. I think that they would do just as fine. The trigger's maybe not the greatest because it's got a little bit of creep to it, but
now the trigger's heavy. That's why I wouldn't suggest it, and it hurts your hand when you shoot it too much.
Yeah, but there's some tricks to making the trigger not so bad because if you do a detail fluff and buff on the face of the trigger, it makes it not bite into your finger so bad, and it makes it a lot more comfortable.
When I buy a gun outside of buying a Kimber, I don't want to put any work into making it function.
I like what DF2 Dots made a comment. I would say consistency in ammo, so you get used to the recoil and compensation.
Yeah, consistency is good in ammo, and I was just reading that. I mean, especially if you're a target shooter, and that's your primary focus. Consistency obviously is, key. But having said that, I will also say that I can tell you, firsthand that when you get in a stress situation where you have to fire your gun in self-defense, you're not going to feel that. You're not going to have to worry about that little difference between a plus P and a non-plus P or a hollow point. You're not going to feel that recoil. And so the people that say you absolutely have to train with your carry ammo, I think you should practice with it and make sure it functions in your gun. But as far as training with it, I'm not necessarily on board with that because, A, it's a lot more expensive than a full metal jacket, and B, the difference is negligible between, your practice ammo and your carry ammo, especially in a stress shootout situation.
I will
I'm going
say,
to point out one thing, too, what's nice about Spear Gold Dots, and that is you can get the Spear Lawmans, and if you get the same grain weight, I'm using 9mm here, you get 124 grain Spear Lawmans and 124 grain carry ammo. The Lawmans perform the same as the carry ammo. It's part of their marketing, so you can actually practice with what you carry recoil-wise with the Lawmans.
I want to say this, and it's simply that in a self-defense scenario, you are going to be surprised, you're going to have adrenaline dump, you're going to basically, more than likely, shoot on the poor end of your abilities in a self-defense scenario. So I would recommend that everyone go and practice at the range more with full metal jacket ammo would be far more valuable than shooting your carry ammo less.
Yep.
Once I prove a carry ammo, it drops out of the rotation. When I go to the range, it's cheap FMJ. There's no need to continue shooting.
And something else, just so you guys get an idea of what it's like to shoot. That's what kind of a little off topic, but what G-Webs and I were talking about with shooting sports, or if you don't have the ability to do that, when you're out on the range, do some push-ups or run around or something. Get your heart rate up, get your blood pumping and your adrenaline going.
Walk 10 feet.
And then well, in your
That works for me.
case, in your case, that'd probably work.
There's a lot of people that come out of a shooting, whether it's a policeman on the job or a self-defense shooting scenario, and they probably couldn't even tell you how many rounds they shot.
Yeah, get your blood
going so much.
Yeah, get your blood flowing, get your adrenaline going, get your heart racing, and then try to shoot and see how much difference it is when you're breathing heavy and your heart's pounding.
For my next 10 mile.
Trying to practice that, every time. Not only is it good, good exercise, but it's good practice because that's going to be more. That's going to recreate more of a stress situation than just standing, static at a firing line shooting.
All right, now it looks like we got
Tack
Daddy joining us, and we got Ryan all set on his computer with his
I just want to say real quick, dude. After my next 10-mile hike, I will go shoot my pistol. All right, guys? I promise you.
We basically covered two main questions here tonight, and I'm going to ask both Tack Daddy and Ryan these, and we'll go with Tack Daddy first, and Ryan can answer, because that's the way I see you guys on my screen. Kevin, what do you currently carry for ammo?
For ammo,
yes.
Hornady, the
Critical defense?
Yeah, the high-end Hornady in the gold box. I forget what it's called.
The critical defense is what it is.
Yep.
Does it have a little polymer tip in it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, critical defense or critical duty.
Just the tip.
Just the tip? It's
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you?
Critical duty has the fancy
if you add polymer at the end,
on
it's
it.
classy.
It's got the fancy red dot, so you know it's a Hornady with an H in it, because it's just that,
Unless you got the zombie, if you got the zombie edition, they offered it in green polymer as well.
But see my point about what did he say? He didn't even know what it was called. He said it was the nice stuff in the fancy gold box.
Try to justify yourself more there, Stoneway.
Is this supposed to support your argument or detract?
Look.
That's the last shout out I give to Tech Daddy.
Hornady put the testing in to have the stuff kill zombies, and that's more than any other manufacturer has even attempted. I'm going to go with what they put out.
Only that the box said it's for zombies.
All right. Let's let Ryan answer here.
Yeah, well, I was the same thing with. I'm more of a critical duty guy with Hornady, just because they offer plus B in it, which is really nice. So you get a little more velocity, especially the 9mm. because that's what I carry.
Well said.
And now the other question, I know both of you guys got to miss out on this most likely. The evolution of your carry ammo. What did you start out with, and why, and go on through there until what you're carrying now, and well, we know what you're
Go
carrying
ahead,
now.
Kevin.
But
I've always had range ammo and carry ammo, and the carry ammo, I used to have that Winchester PDX, and again, I have a couple magazines filled with that. I mean, I even have a couple magazines for the Glock, the backup mags. I think those are Hornady matched with the steel case.
That's some straight up performance stuff there. You know, without that's before you get the polymer tip. You know, you got to pay a little extra for that little piece of plastic.
Yep.
so
No, I started out with the same thing. I had the PDX myself, and then it was like a 147 plus P, and then just over testing, seeing different testing different guys did on YouTube, where it just didn't have the penetration as like some of the Hornady stuff did. And when Hornady came out with the Critical Duty, it was really impressive because they were really the first ones to have that polymer tip that kept the hollow point from being filled up with whatever crap you were shooting it through, whether it be a door or or even like drywall, whatever. And that's what kills the performance of any hollow point. So that I've stuck with it ever since.
Critical Defense came out first, and the Duty
Right.
after that. Yeah.
I think any of these lower velocity hollow point, so they don't over penetrate from any of the brands. Truly, as long as you're gonna cycle it, I think any of them are just fine. To be honest, I mean, you're talking about stuff that compared to 40 years ago is light years. Can you guys?
Are you telling me I shouldn't be carrying wad cutters in my 45?
If you want to keep it old school,
I'm pretty
by God,
sure
go
they
for
shot
it.
and killed people 40 years ago.
Wad cutters are
I've read stuff
very
about it.
effective. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, I bought this 145 ACP ammo that I see at Academy, and I've seen it at the gun shows before. It's from Pierce, and they're basically loading their own ammunition, but they're using Spear brass and Spear gold gold
Pierce
dots.
makes good ammo.
Yeah, and it's relatively inexpensive compared if you measure it up with the box of Gold Dot 45, and they're like $20 a box versus $27 a box. I know they're not Spear making the ammunition, but I haven't tested it. I bought like 4 or 5 boxes, but I haven't tested them yet. But it's pretty good stuff. Last time I saw it at Academy, they changed from Gold Dot tips to Corbon tips now, or projectiles. Sorry. So it's kind of weird, but it's good stuff. It's good looking into.
all right. The next question here. And I know we talked about this before, but what do you think out there right now is the worst carry ammo outside a Full Metal Jacket that could get you into legal trouble?
Okay,
Probably
real
just
quick.
the zombie stuff.
Okay, real quick. That's two different stuff. Do you want the crap, or do you want the stuff that's?
The worst
Is
thing
it-
that could get you into
He said
legal
that-
trouble.
Yeah, it's one question.
Okay.
Stuff that'll get you in the most legal trouble.
Okay.
Because I know there are a lot of people that reload stuff like that, so it's kind of a broad question. But I
I'll
just
go
want
first.
people's
If you
opinion
watch
on
one of those
this.
movies where they take a hollow point and they throw out the tip and then they put
Damn
poison
you.
in there, that would be the worst.
Yep.
Poison
Yeah.
tip, homemade death ammo.
With
Yeah,
explosives.
this is not a left or right question, so just jump in here.
I was expecting to have the first shot at the left or right. I lost. Okay, if you
Sick of
carve
getting
your
top
own
billing all the time.
text,
This is meant to be a discussion, not.
I try not to
left or right
take
question.
the best answers first. I try not to do
Step
that.
out to the mic. Blew it up.
And make sure you don't make it black because it makes it extra deadly, as we've learned. Okay.
I'm going to go with any ammunition that says Cop Killer
Not
on the
what she
box
said.
is not a good idea.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Dude, that RIP shit, the new stuff. Come on, that's the easy.
Yeah, the RIP
Yep.
stuff is going to get you in big trouble. And here's the reason why. It's because you have to special order it.
Look around the
Yep.
box.
Did you guys see the
It's super
outrage?
expensive, and you have to special order it, so that any prosecutor can tear you apart. He went out of his way to buy killer ammo.
Did you guys
How much
see
is that
the-
stuff going for a box, anyways?
It's like $40, but then you got to spend another 10 or 20 on shipping. So it's
Who makes it?
$60
Is
a
it like an
box.
independent, or who produces
New
it?
company. I'm not sure exactly.
I can't remember the.
There's another ammunition before them that were kind of known for really spreading open. They opened up to almost like a cross. It was that Grizzly. Was that Grizzly ammunition?
Yep,
I mean,
Grizzly.
45.
That
And
shit
that
was nasty.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad when you see it, pop in the water. I never saw any, test on gelatin or ballistic gelatin.
There's a new ammo that's
Ballistics,
got like 6 segments that turn into these big jagged things that make a Black Talon look like kitty play.
Yeah, that Grizzly stuff is very effective. I've seen not only water tests, but I've seen ballistics tests because it's perforated. It's pre-segmented petals, and they open up almost a full inch of expansion on a 9mm. So
Damn, that must be
it's
a long casing, then.
it's crazy, but there again, it's $50 for a box of 20.
Were they originally designed for
25, yeah.
when you're going out hunting, like to have in case you hit a bear, or were they designed for personal defense?
I think
Probably
they were
personal
personal
defense.
defense. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're
With
it's
a
a full
bear, you're
copper
better
head.
off
It's
with
not
the
lead at
full
all.
metal
It's full
jacket.
copper.
Yeah, it's a full copper.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
when
say
you're trying
one
to
that-
shoot a bear, you
that-
don't want to try to do the whole hollow point thing. You want to go as many holes through the bear as you possibly can.
Yeah,
you
you
don't want
want
to go through shoulder
deep
blades and everything else.
I'm gonna say
What
one
holes
that
are
would
important?
definitely get me in trouble legally in my state anyway is armor-piercing ammo.
What if you like the bear?
Yeah, a lot of states
Armor
have
piercing
actually
is
banned
pretty
armor
much
piercing.
illegal.
Yeah.
No,
Now-
it's not at all. At all.
Well, if you do it in
FM57.
heavily regulated states, they have.
Okay, well, G-Webs,
Wisconsin,
so
it's illegal to have armor-piercing ammo on a handgun.
can you elaborate more on that, G-Webs?
It's easy to say that it's illegal, but it's not regulated at the federal level at all. The only thing
No,
that
it's-
it's
it's a
even
state
mentioned
to
at the
state.
federal level is that a licensed FFL can't transfer it, can't sell it. That's the only thing. That's so we don't see it in stores a lot. But that's
Now
the
this-
only thing at a federal level, as I did with it.
This might be ignorant, but I'm going to say it anyway because I've never heard of a armor-piercing pistol round.
There was a video that I saw of some Russian companies.
7.62 by 39 and 5.56 are two
No, a
pistol rounds
pistol
that can be. Well, there's pistols, so that's
Well,
another reason.
okay,
That's
yeah,
a whole other
5.7.
topic. But
No, I know. Yeah, I know. There's AR pistols, but I'm saying realistically, like, do they make a 9mm armor?
There is around. I saw a video a long time ago. It was some Russian guy that was doing ballistic tests on it, going through armor, different kinds of armor, and he it had a what do you call them, a freaking penetrator point on the tip there.
Most of those types of ammo have a sabot or sabot.
It had something
They're
on the tip that it
they're
was,
throwing a tungsten rod or something akin to it that'll actually make it through the steel without.
yeah, that's what he had.
5.7 was designed to do it.
yeah,
Well, yeah,
I just
FN57. That's the only one I've ever heard of.
So that ammo was only available, generally speaking, to the public for a short period of time, and then all the other stuff that they have is wasn't designed, to be armor piercing. So, so it's out there, but it's not something you can find every day for the 5.7. But I think I certainly don't watch like ESPN, but I was just glancing through the news like a week
You
or
can't
two
read?
ago. No, I have my people do that for me.
I hear you.
But right, it's
a lot of
just too
time.
much. It really is. So anyway, there's like some NBA player in New York that got busted. His wife, or wanted to be an ex-wife or something anyway, called and said, "Hey, this guy's in New York. He has a gun." And they showed up, and he had an FN57 he bought out of state and brought to New York with him. And they were like up in a roar, like he shouldn't even own the gun to begin with. Like this is only sold to the Secret Service. They were making the gun equate with they'd only shot like this armor-piercing ammo and stuff like that. So
Right.
Well,
Now,
that's media ignorance, and that's nothing new. So I don't know if you guys
we're
want to talk
talking
about it.
what we don't want to carry. You know what I mean? And reasons not to
I carry
carry
a
it.
5.7 if I could
Well,
afford the fucking ammo.
and here's another one: the Hornady Zombie Max ammo with the green tips, which is the same as the Critical Duty. The only problem with that is it says on the box not to shoot people with.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty
Well,
scary
this
type
is
of marketing there for sure.
So because
that's
of the marketing
absolute
and what they wrote on it,
marketing.
then if you actually shot someone, they're like, this guy's nuts. He's carrying zombie ammo. It even says don't shoot people with it. Yeah.
No, if somebody would make like liberal ammo, that would sell like the son of a bitch. I swear to God. You know, it'd be like liberal terrorist lube. You know, that they make with liberal bullets. That'd be fantastic.
Hey, if we get into war with, they're gonna have a field day. You know, you shoot someone with an AK, and then all of a sudden you're supporting the Russians too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now this will be a left or right. Then we'll let Luke ask his question here. But how do you feel about hand load or reload for carry in that situation? And that's with you, Ralph.
Carrying reloads at all?
Reloads or hand loaded? Yeah.
Never. It's just I would rather carry factory ball than my reloaded stuff. And I've reloaded hollow points and it's been tempting, but why? Well, it's just why. Again, going back to why carry something that your average police or federal agency doesn't carry? It's the same. Why? Because it's just one thing you don't want to have to deal with in court. You could make the best carry ammo that there is, but why would you want to have to deal with it? Whenever there's so many other just equal, you can't say they're not equally as good. So it's the same thing with the ammo that you have, right?
Yeah.
And so
Well,
why
I
not
agree
just
with
stick
you.
with
Everything you're
something?
saying.
You know what I mean? So same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
What about you, G-Lobs? Your feelings?
Never.
All right, that was quick. Edge?
Yeah, as well. I wouldn't do it. I think back in the day when in the 80s when people were reloading, some people decided to make their own ammunition for whatever reason. In those days, because of a lack of variety, perhaps, but no, currently, no. Yeah, hell no.
All right, Kevin.
I'm a 1%er. I won't put that shit anywhere near any of my guns.
What about you, Luke?
Damn it. I'm not used to muting all the time. Yeah, call day in hell that you catch me carrying reloaded ammo. It's just asking for trouble in a self-defense scenario.
Oh, can I change my answer?
Sure.
Never, because Glock says you can't do it.
Hey, that's a really good answer.
All right, Nathan.
I never carry reloads. I take them to the range and stuff. The only time that I've ever carried reloads in a self-defense gun is when I was going out to the lease and I was carrying my 44 Magnum with my special hog loads in it. But that really, I wasn't anticipating having to use it in a self-defense scenario. I was carrying a 44 Magnum with flat nose solid overloaded 44 bullets to shoot pigs with. So I was really hoping I wouldn't have to use that in a self-defense scenario because it's going to go right through people like butter.
Oh, awesome. All right, Ryan, you're up.
What, the hot knife or cold knife?
Hot knife.
Probably the hot knife. That's some high velocity shit right there. What I've read when I was first started carrying, I read Masai concealed carry book, like the volume 1, and he was saying the reason you don't want to carry that for the simple fact that not all reloads are 100%, and it's not, hey, you may have been doing it for 10 years, but one time, say, and you have a malfunction or you fucked your recipe up, and all of a sudden it has a malfunction and hurts somebody on accident. Well, you're liable for that. Versus if you use more of the factory stuff, your ass is covered because it's not your fault. You didn't make the ammo. That's one reason for it. For also another reason is that it's on the market, it's out there, not anything special. So if by chance you mix an ammo from, say, you did get the ammo piercing shit and you mix it in with your what are your reloads that you're going to use for carry, and you use that. Well, depending on the state, you may screw yourself and you use that, and it's in your magazine, and they check it out, and your ass is grass because you may be legal in defending yourself, but if you have the ammo, you're up the shit creek because you have that ammo loaded in with the rest of your reloads. So it's just it's best COA not to have any reloads for your carry.
I like this guy. He's got a headset, he's got a fucking microphone, and a real opinion.
Yeah, yes, he's awesome. A lot better than me.
It almost makes up for the fact he's ginger. Oh, did I say that?
Almost.
And is it just me? Or
I
is
will
it
come after your
Ray
soul
Bob?
if you're not careful.
I'm just kidding you.
Yeah, dude, I like your hairline. I'll tell you that.
All right, Stone Guy, you're up.
Jesus, I forgot the question after all that. What was the question?
Boxer briefs.
Will you carry reloads, or is it a good idea to carry reloads?
Well, I wouldn't, just from a legal standpoint, I wouldn't carry reloads in a self-defense weapon, but, I mean, I shoot reloads as a competition shooter. I shoot Atlanta Arms, which is a factory reload, and, man, I've shot thousands and thousands of rounds and never had an issue with reloads, but for a concealed carry or self-defense gun, you just, legally speaking, you want to stay away from that if you can.
All right, and also I'm going to go with no here, and for reasons everybody stated, the main one is the legal reasons. And the reason I asked this question, and I should have brought this up beforehand, because a lot of companies, and I know Luke has bought some, sell hollow point reloads or factory reloads, but they're sold as hollow points. And
Well,
that's
all
why
right,
I brought it up.
remanufactured and reloads, two different things, no?
Yeah,
Well,
from a legal
remanufactured-
standpoint,
I mean,
Factory
a
are
relo-
all the same things.
I mean, I would consider it
specific-
coming from a factory with the quality control and everything, giving it a thumbs up to be factory ammo. It's remanufactured because the brass is used more than once, but
And
So
it's
the
one
stuff
time
you're
for that.
talking about was that BVAC Bitterroot Valley Ammo Company, and it is
There are
a
a lot
hollow
of companies-
point, but it's not. I wouldn't. It's not what I would call a self-defense hollow point. It's a very crude hollow point. The only reason I buy those is, in a shit hit the fan scenario, I'm not going to be quite as worried about terminal effect, and so I have plinking ammo that's also hollow point for shit hit the fan. That's sort of my thinking there.
That's why I brought it up. And I classify
legally, I
reloads and remanufactured as the same thing.
From a
But
legal
if
standpoint,
or
I
something
wouldn't.
doesn't.
From a legal standpoint, I wouldn't be worried about carrying those because it's commercially available.
Personally loaded ammo is usually referred to as hand loads, is what they call it mostly.
Right. That's calling them reloads.
Somebody that is proficient enough in the science to explain what happens to the brass on the first shot, the second shot, the third shot, and at what point you shouldn't be reloading something?
Well, generally,
with reload brass, I mean you got to put it through dozens of times most of the time before the brass is shot.
Okay, hold on.
dozens a little much.
it'll
Hold
depend
on.
on the shape of the bullet.
Hold
Well,
on.
I'll tell you, let me just say this real quick. Dozens is a little much. I would say, yeah, 5 or 6 maybe. But the other thing that and this is only for Glocks that I'm speaking of, for reloading, and people may not know this, but Glocks have a looser tolerance, a looser chamber, and Glock, when you shoot your Glock and go to reload your brass, there's a slight, what they call the Glock bulge, and your brass will be bulged slightly.
She said.
Anything coming out of a Glock.
Talk about why that is. You're saying that the
I think of it as a perfection kiss, a kiss of perfection.
That's why it's so damn.
You're saying
That's
don't
because
shoot
after
it.
a bullet gets done with a Glock, there's no other
But-
gun good enough.
But
Well,
there's a point here because if you shoot it in a Glock first and then you try and shoot it in another gun that's not a Glock, it could get
No. It's like this.
issues.
The chamber tolerances in a Glock are looser, so they're a little bit wider. Your brass is going to expand, and it's going to go to the outside walls. Whenever you fire that round, the soft brass is going to expand to the outermost parts that it can. So then you're going to resize that brass whenever you reload it. You're going to take it down to the spec that you want it to have for outside diameter. Think about outside diameter. Now on rifles, you have to trim this off. That's a whole different story, right? But as far as handgun ammo, you're going to take it down to the same size. So it's not a question of is it going to work after it's been shot out of a Glock. It's you're going to stretch and tighten this piece of metal how many times and how far.
You're fatiguing it more.
You're going to fatigue it more, exactly.
I was about to say, it's the amount of movement you put into moving the brass back and forth that causes it to crack sooner.
You just have to be more vigilant about watching your.
So if you're shooting something like 38 with a 38 cartridge in a medium moderate pressure 38 revolver, you've got equal chamber pressure all around. You got a big fat rim in the back. That brass will probably last a lot longer than 357 SIG, where it's got a neck and it's going to be expanding into a weird shaped chamber every time. It's going to have all these stresses from resizing like they're talking about.
Right, and like with rifle brass, if you shoot it out of the same bolt gun all the time and you just size the neck down and trim the cases, they last an extremely long time. But as soon as you start doing full-length resizing on rifle brass, you're moving more metal and everything, like with an AR or anything that's semi-automatic, and then your cases last probably 4 or 5 reloads tops.
And it depends on if you're annealing them in the midterm and everything else. But, so,
does that mean cleaning them in the sand thing?
No,
annealing is applying a amount of heat to relieve the stresses from your reforming and everything.
Yeah.
But
I got a question here for Nick. Is there anything I missed so far that you'd like to bring up?
The question I was going to bring up earlier was, there's at least one state, and I can't remember which one it is, that does not allow hollow point
New Jersey.
carry. Is there any others?
New Jersey that I know of. I'm not sure of any others. Hopefully some people out there in Chatland will be able to
haven't heard of it.
in.
Jersey's the only place I've heard of.
I know Jersey for sure, but I don't know the other.
I could be wrong on this, but I believe in New York City you're not allowed to have sights on your guns.
At least
That's only for the police officers up there.
All right. Do you guys mind if I switch topics a little bit? Instead of carry, how about home defense? Do you guys change your ammo at all in your home?
No. And real quick,
yes, that's a great subject, and I do.
I switched to shotgun shells.
Public service announcement. Everybody remember to set your clocks forward an hour tonight.
Yes, yes.
Crap, I forgot about that.
And
tonight, or
this is going to be a left to right, and
technically at 2 o'clock in the morning, but
as Nathan
it is tonight.
said, it is tonight. At 2 o'clock.
Yeah, technically at 2 o'clock, but I just do
2
it
o'clock
right
Greenwich Mean Time.
But here's the thing: you can even switch guns or whatever. Just explain what you do or if it's the exact same thing that you carry on your person. And so we'll start with Ralph.
No, as far as my carry gun, no, I don't swap out a magazine or anything like that. No, there are house guns.
That's your first choice for home defense, then, because it is part of the situation you like.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Shotgun instead of your handgun.
No, I mean not necessarily. This is really situationally dependent, right? But primarily, I'm going to consider that I have my carry gun on me at all times.
Right.
Even while
that's one of the reasons why I was bringing this question.
So no, I don't take the time to put something different in it because I walk through some doors. So.
All right. And I'm sorry, my cat's sitting in front of the computer, so G-Webs, I believe, is next.
Well, first off, it's not fair to Ralph to say something like that, because with the 1%ers, you got to tell him which house you're talking about.
Right.
Because I'm sure it's different if he's at his little mountain
and which
chateau.
gun.
Exactly. But I do switch ammo because I switch guns. I use a rifle at home. I don't get to carry a rifle around because people don't have a problem with that.
I carry a pink one around just for shits and giggles, just to fuck with people.
All right, that's what I wanted to know. So you grab a rifle?
I agree with Ralph that I wouldn't change my carry guns ammo necessarily, but I use a rifle at home.
Right. And now your rifle would be AK?
Yes.
Is there a specific ammo, like a soft point?
No, I don't want to give them anything softer. They're getting the full tip. The full tip.
All right.
Full tip.
Edge.
Should name that chat.
No, same juice and all the stuff.
Full tip jacket.
Using the same bullets.
You must be using those horn days with the plastic tip. Do you use a condom on your bullets?
On occasion, but the only thing I have it's different is on the AR-15. I have it set up. If I ever do grab it, it's set up to rock and roll. It's soft tip. Yeah, that's about it. I don't change my carry gun ammunition.
Yeah, well, another reason too, and I'm sure about this, a lot of us have more than one gun. You like change your guns too, but obviously that doesn't come into effect yet. Now we'll go to Kevin here.
It's a hard question. I have, let's just pick a gun, the Glock 27. I carry the Hornady. I got another, 6 magazines, and I think in probably 3 different kinds of, again, high quality, what most people would call high quality ammo, not range ammo, self-defense by a brand name. Do I switch it out of the gun? No.
Okay, you don't switch guns either when you're at home?
I go guns than the guns I carry on the street when I'm in my home, yeah.
Okay. All right, Luke?
I'm gonna pre-apologize for traffic driving by because I'm not having a cigarette, but I don't have different firearms to defend my house, and I use the same ammo.
All right, Nathan?
Yeah, when I get home, I'm kind of like Mr. Rogers. I go to the gun safe, take off my sidearm, put on my house slippers and jammy bottoms, and if somebody tries to break in, I have a 12 gauge that's very handy that I use to defend myself. I don't wear my pistol around my house. Again, I know a lot of you guys like to carry on your person, but I figure having a 12 gauge that I can sprint to and grab fairly quickly is good enough for me. Plus, I'll throw a schnauzer at them.
Do you carry like double-aught buck in there, birdshot?
I carry high brass 6 loads because those gave me nice effects on my drywall tests as far as not over penetrating, but they still can like disintegrate a 2-liter full of water. So I figure that's enough kinetic energy at close range. But I did drywall tests on them to make sure they worked the way I wanted them.
All right, Ryan?
I think you're talking to me. Well, I
Yes.
move around a lot. I'm a truck driver, so I don't get a chance to really go home a lot. So my carry piece is a SR9C Ruger. So what I do, what's nice about the Ruger is that since it switches between the full size and 10 rounders, because I use the 10 rounders when I carry, but if ever I'm like at home or whatever, I'll swap it out for the 17, and that way I get the full size without really having to mess around with changing mags or changing guns, because I move around too much to even have any kind of rifle with me. So it's just my all-around piece, and it works great, so I don't have to mess around with it.
All right, Stone Guy.
All right. I do not change ammo. Kind of like Ralph said, my carry gun stays with me all the time, and I don't switch out ammo for that. Now, if I had the time to get to my safe, I would prefer. I've got my shotgun set up for home defense. So if I could get to that, I would prefer to use that in a home defense situation. And for the shotgun, I prefer to run a number 4 turkey load. I think is perfect for home defense because you're not going to get too much over penetration as far as going through walls.
You get a lot of turkeys breaking in your neighborhood.
I am in Georgia.
I figured it so he could yell out, "Take that, turkey!"
Jive turkey. Pow!
All right, I do not also, at least in my carry gun, but my first choice for home defense is my shotgun. And since I am single and do not have anybody else living in my house with me, I'm less concerned about having to go clear the house or anything like that. So the shotgun makes perfect choice, and it's double buck for me, and I can camp. So that's the reasons why. And I still have my sidearm on me at all times. It's just that my first choice is a 12 gauge.
I'm pretty sure we have photographic evidence of you without a sidearm. No?
Right.
I thought we agreed not to ever bring that up again. Some of us are still
That's for
scarred.
voting. How can you take off the gun? That just makes no sense.
Now, I'm going to say this. When I went outside and took that picture,
Yeah, I think.
the gun was in the other hand.
Trust me, I think the sight of Cork would scare him way more than any gun he could hold.
Well, sometimes just being ugly is a good defense. You don't really need a gun.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not ugly. I'm just so sexy. Nobody wants to hurt me.
I was gonna say, Cork's sexy is just huge.
And
No one wants to fight a big, fat, naked man. So.
yeah,
I'm
you got that
big.
right. Once you take the pants off, everything goes to shit.
That's Quark's
I'm
defense. He just
pleasantly
drops his
plump. A
pants.
lot of women love that.
It's like, no one wants to fight a naked guy.
You just haven't found one yet, huh?
Now that we have Huck in the chat, I'm going to ask him just a couple of the basic questions that we've covered here tonight. We won't get into it too much, but Huck, what is your current carry ammo?
I carry Hornady Critical Defense, 115 grain.
Any reason why?
Because it's what they had on the shelves during the panic when I bought my Glock, and it's pretty solid performer from what I've seen.
I'm sure a lot of people out there have the exact same experience you do with carry ammo. They had to go with what they could get.
Yeah, I've carried everything over the years, but that's just what I have now. I switched over to 9mm a couple of years ago, so I had to, rebuy everything.
All right. The other question is kind of like your evolution of carry ammo. Did it drastically change? Like, what did you start out with, and we know what you ended up with. So, did it drastically change over time?
He ended up with petrified bone.
Yeah, I ended up carrying dinosaur bone. No, I pretty much started with a mixed load of like gold dots and hydro shocks and spears and all kinds of shit, and I've just messed around, and I really switches to depending on whatever I can find when it's ammo time.
All right, awesome. And
Now, see, Huck's.
you switch firearms, ammo in your home situation compared to what you carry?
Sometimes when I get home, like if I know I'm going to be just sticking around the shop, I'm not leaving for the day, I'll throw on a 22 Magnum revolver. It's a little lighter, rides a little easier than the Glock.
All right.
That's it.
That answered a lot of questions I had. And we haven't had really too many arguments, a little bit of heated discussion, but is there anything else? Here's a good question. It's kind of what we're talking about, and this is from GT350 in the external. Progressive loads in shotguns for home defense. What are you guys' opinions? It doesn't have to be a left or right.
Well, that's what I was saying. A number 4, if you think about it, a number 4, it's a little bit bigger, but you're still spreading bird shot, or so you're not. They're smaller individual projectiles, but if you think of a home defense situation, typically, unless you have some mansion, you're going to be pretty close quarters. So, your wad's not really going to open up. 10, 15 feet, you're still pretty much shooting a slug. But when it does impact a door or drywall, it's gonna stop and break up pretty quick. So that's why I think shotgun, a bird shot inside the house.
No.
Perfect. Like I said, a number 4 bird shot.
You're silly.
Turkey load. I'm telling you.
Goes through like
Okay,
a
is
slug.
that what the police carry? Is that what SWAT carries?
No, of
No,
course
well then
not.
why would you do something different? Do they know better than you?
Well, we carry buckshot with.
For a reason, because you're dropping people. That's the first order of business, right? All this, you guys are so worried about the secondary
Stop the
stuff.
threat.
You know, right? Like you're worried about like, oh, if I miss, how about focusing on not missing and using ammo that's designed to do what you want it to do instead of worrying about if this, if that. Because a lot of those things are very minuscule. It's just like the accidental shootings that we, don't want people to focus on because that's so minuscule of a number. It's the same thing. Like, why wouldn't you want to use what that thing's designed for, and to use? Like, I get like over penetration and all that stuff too with a shotgun, and that's just part of the deal with the shotgun, right?
I don't even care if I got a load that doesn't presume to penetrate drywall. If I got a shot with the backdrop of my kids' bedrooms, I'm not taking it. I just got to use some common sense.
Right, so why wouldn't you want to use double-aught buck so that whenever you do have a clean shot, it's the most effective shot that you can have, not some bird shot. I just don't like bird shot for home stuff.
Well, you say birdshot. Have you ever seen, like the number 4 turkey
Number
load?
4 is not birdshot.
Yeah, it's a bigger.
Well, turkey is technically a bird. I mean, it's not designed for
It's not
heavy
a slug,
mammals. It's
right.
designed for specifically a turkey with a lot of velocity and little projectiles because you're trying to kill that, get that neck.
Right.
So you want a lot of mass out there. We're going really fast, and it doesn't take a lot to get a turkey. It's just accuracy. So I can see where Ralph is coming from. That you're just going to turn a lot of bad times into hamburger. Might as well just end the threat and
Yeah,
use something that's
definitely
designed
say,
for heavy mammals.
a 9-shot, pellet double-aught buck.
No, what?
What is it? Is it 9? Isn't it 9 shots in a double-aught buck?
Yes,
Oh,
nine
you
colors.
Nine
Sorry.
pellets. Yeah, 9 pellets.
Yeah, 9 pellets. So they're 30
Right.
caliber
Use 9
pellets.
shot. That's rat shot.
Isn't that enough?
Yeah, 30 caliber pellets, 9 shot.
It's
Number
9
9
The
millimeter.
thing I notice when people start talking shotguns for home defense, inevitably it's, I've got 2 buckshot, and then I've got 2 slugs, and then I follow it with
Not
3
here.
turkey loads or
Yeah.
whatever.
A lot
And
of people do that though.
I think that's such a jacked up thought.
Well, it's
I
nice
like-
if you're trying to clear a
okay.
house, but if you're just going to do it by yourself for home protection, you really don't need a slug in your damn gun, because you miss, that thing's going to through some drywall in your neighbor's house and then your neighbor's house. So you really don't need it.
Maybe not.
Hold on. Here's the way I have my shotgun. I have the 4 shells in it of the 6 load high brass, which I've taken out and shot through drywall to test them. And then I have 5 rounds on the side saddle of buckshot, because if I have to stop and reload after the first 4 shots, more than likely I want to start shooting through things if I have to keep firing. So that's my thing. If I have to reload, I want penetration at that point.
Since you get just thinking outside the box, if everybody's worried about drywall penetration, have you thought about removing all your interior walls and just living in a more communal space?
Or better yet, putting steel plates in behind your drywall.
Right. Or buying a whole lot of...
AR-500 on all your interior walls.
Why
I
not?
was just thinking of getting a lot of surplus level 3 vests to put in as insulation in the walls. It'll cut down on my energy expenses and pay for itself.
Put your kids to bed with soft body armor on.
Exactly, you get that stuff
Hey.
cheap used, and yeah, that cuts down on the heating bills.
Hey kids, build a pillow fort on your bed. Here's some soft body armor.
No, seriously though, I had a big conversation about this. Like, if we spent more time working on things like a plan with our families about, hey, does your family know what to do whenever the fire alarm goes off? Do they know what to do whenever the home alarm goes off?
I'm special ed, but we actually have plans for shooter
That's
scenarios
exactly
at my
what
house. But
That's exactly what you should do. And if you're if you're on different sides of the house and this and that, like if you spent more time doing that and focusing on where you could control as much of the situation as possible, and less time worrying about if I miss, like control where those people are at and where you're going to be and where you know things so you don't have to guess. Is Timmy there, or if he is, he's laying on the floor because that's what we've trained to do. whenever the house alarm goes off, as an example, until I come collect him, or we go to all one room or something like that, right? So I don't know. I think more attention needs to be paid to those types of situations than, worrying about over penetration, right? Control the situation instead of putting yourself at a handicap, and learn how
Well,
to use a
there's
shotgun.
look at it from this point of view. If you got a plan and a rallying point, if you have to engage somebody, now you know where they're at, and you don't have to worry about over-penetration because you know what your zones of fire are, and there's only presumably one room that's in your
Right.
no-shoot area.
Exactly. These are my points, and it's, nothing's a perfect scenario, but just worry less about if I miss and this and that. How about don't miss? How about try to, control where people are at so that there aren't over penetration worries, and you can run full bore ammo for what you need to do.
The worst case scenario is actually you have to go hunt for bad guys. You do not want to do that because if the cops get there somehow in a miraculously minute and a half or 2 minutes or whatever, you're just going to be just as much of a disadvantage as they are, or the crooks. Just because if you're in a dark house, unless you happen to have that security system which flips on the light switch, you can see everything, which 99 times out of 10 most people don't have. But the last thing you want to do is just get to a central location point, have all the family join you, or you go get them and you stay there until the cops come. Because figuring if you have a decent plan, you get the girlfriend or whatever that calls it while you grab the gun, and if you got kids, you go get the kids and you just stay in one place, and if they get that room or whatever, say it's your master bedroom, that's where you want to stay.
I live in a white neighborhood, so the cops get it pretty quick.
Hey, welcome, Hush.
Yeah, but that's because people call the cops on you.
Okay, well,
yeah, he's the guy with the truck with no wheels on it. He's that neighbor.
No.
How many cars on cinder blocks are in your front yard, Edge? Really? 1, 2?
There's not enough yard to put more than 2.
Hey, just because I have to move the cars when I mow my yard doesn't mean I'm a redneck most times.
Hey, everybody!
Hey, at least you're considerate.
We have a new person. We have a new person in the chat. Cork, please ask Hosh Nazi's baby what type of carry ammo he carries and why.
All right, little baby, what do you carry and why? Who's
My
that?
eyes! Take that screen share away.
Projectile vomit.
All I gotta say is it better be an NAA 22.
Yeah, that's his gun. So
Hey,
the gold dots, 22 mag gold dots.
He looks terrified right now.
Kid looks like he's on coke.
Really, really surprised.
Well, Mom had a Slurpee earlier today, so he's
Holy shit!
Yeah, I think
he's tweaking.
It's like you guys gave him Red Bull.
I think he'd be packing some pea soup.
Oh, it's so cute.
Projectile vomit.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Red Balls.
That's cool.
Does he see himself in there, or is he just looking at all of us?
Yeah, he's doing both of it. I'm switching.
So we gotta get hit Hosh up for his current carry, and then what led up to his current carry question.
Yep, exactly.
Like you're waving that way, but I see it over there.
I'm waving so he can see that. He's kind of freaking out because he sees my hand and he's looking at the screen.
You can see him doing a double take. He's like,
Right.
there's the hand, but there's the hand. What's going on?
Yeah, he's pretty funny. What do I carry?
This is
Well,
weird guy carry me.
We're talking ammo here.
Well, for one, he's carrying a
Oh, you
baby.
got to dig it out. You gotta remember.
Yeah.
You gotta dig that baby out.
These are things feds.
Put the bullets in the baby's mouth so you don't lose them.
Yeah. These are fed Hydra Shocks, I think, but they're in 38 special, so I don't know if they Hydra Shock 38 special.
Hydra.
That kid's wired.
I was in California.
Yeah, we
Are
forgot
there
about California.
limitations? Are there limitations on options in California?
No, you can get whatever ammo you want in California. It's the guns that are the problem, right? Because you got to be on the roster. But the ammunition, I think Black Talons are banned, but I don't know. Is that federal or is that state?
Black Talons were never banned. They were bad PR, and they changed them up so that wouldn't
they
be a PR
discontinued
nightmare.
them because people got their panties in a ruffle.
Would they rename them Rangers or something like that?
Yeah, Ranger
Ranger
Tees.
Tees.
Yeah.
They
So
changed
that's-
them. They
Those were
weren't black
Federals.
anymore, so they became undangerous.
I generally have Federal in all my home defense guns, handguns, and in my shotguns I have Fiocchi slugs, the Foster slugs, and Federal.
1%er.
Those looks are classic.
I know, the kid was like, really? You carry He was looking up like, oh, really? Carry Fiocchi? Oh. He's all into it.
You
My
got that
daddy carries
fancy
Fiocchi.
Italian
He's
brand.
a 1%er.
Well,
I got awesome
my
toys.
birdshot, my target rounds, not for not for home defense, but for when I'm shooting clays, I usually shoot Remington STS gun clubs if I'm competing, which are kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But don't
So
you
what
guys
does the
have
kid carry?
restrictions on lead shot in your shotgun shells down there?
Not yet, but we will.
I heard it was coming.
They passed that law. Basically, it's 2019. They're doing a study now to see if the lead is affecting the habitat of the condor, the California condor.
Look, if it saves one condor or one pelican, it's all worth it. It's for the pelicans.
I mean, if it's
Condors
something
are
like the
bush.
condor, that's specific, and I can totally understand why you'd want to preserve them, but I can't imagine how they can go from this is endangering, this particular instance of abuse or, neglect or whatever you want to call it is endangering these condors. But since the condors, by definition, aren't everywhere, how can they scorn all shooting? You know what I mean?
I can't speak to that, but I know in Washington, because they've done studies and proven that the ducks were ingesting the lead shot when they're eating.
Oh, no, I hear
causing
that, but there's
mortality.
ducks everywhere.
So for
Yeah.
for
That makes
duck
sense.
shot,
There's
they
ducks
only allow
everywhere.
us to use a
Right.
non-lead
You steal.
projectile now.
Due to federal regulations, you steal shot when you're hunting waterfowl because ducks are federal migratory birds. But how is a condor eating lead shot? Is it flying down to your clay range and munching off stuff on the ground? It's retarded.
Well, no, but an instance of a horrible trash dump or something could get into its food stream. Or
Well, here's a not too far of a stretch on that one. So the bird goes to a lake that still has a lot of lead shot. He dies of lead poisoning. Now the condor eats him because it's a scavenger. Now he has the lead shot in him. I can sort of see the
I
progression
guess that's
there.
a good way to see it. Yeah.
That's one of the arguments they make. The other argument they make is, places that are up in the mountains here. We've got a place called Burrow Canyon that's in the LA mountain range. That's a heavy firing, open, basically just about anything that you can have in California, you can shoot up there. And they argue that it gets into the water supply because there's a stream that's right next door, and through the rain it leaches in and it affects not just the condors, but the condor is always the thing they go to because it's like the native endangered species, if you will. But they've made the same argument about ducks that get shot with lead, get picked up by a predator, and then die or get sick or whatever. So they make all the arguments.
I'm going to
Kid's
play
like
devil's
going,
advocate.
You tell them.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I mean, I don't have a problem with us switching to steel shots so that we don't have lakes full of lead. I mean, there are a lot more people than there are lakes, so if we don't maintain them, who is?
It's costly though, right?
I hear you. I'm willing to make
I know,
sacrifices.
now that it's more prevalent, the competition amongst manufacturers, the cost isn't as bad.
And I'm willing to pay a higher price, or at least I'm willing to let hunters pay a higher price.
I'm all about
entitled to
being a good
seek
citizen
critters.
to the environment. So it's not like them telling us that we can't use rifle calibers and lead because that contaminates things when there's no proof that causes. I know.
It will be the slippery slope, I suppose.
I'll fight that fight though. I won't fight over the duck.
Do we
thing
need
because
to
it
though?
makes sense.
What's wrong with going to another material? Who cares if we don't have to use lead just because we always use lead?
Here's my response.
It's that they're telling me what I want to use for a product, and if it's not really harming the environment, why can't I use it?
Out there. That's why you want to keep using it. Otherwise, they haven't really have anything else as a different supply for it. It is the cheapest material they can use with the decent lethality. Versus if you use something that's in copper or use something that's off of steel, the price of ammo will skyrocket if they use something else.
Hold on. I'm just going to really quick interject that if that was the case, 7.62 by 39, the most prolific ammunition made on the planet, wouldn't have steel slugs in the center of it. lead is not the cheapest material compared to scrap steel.
He is right. Scrap metal is cheaper. There's plenty of scrap metal around. It's just the thing about, I'm going to say, rifle bullets. Rifle bullets with lead cores give that little bit more flex when you fire them down the barrel than solid copper rifle bullets do, although lots of people like them, but it causes more copper fouling when you have solid copper rifle bullets. Just one difference.
It's a maintenance issue.
Absolutely, yeah, because if you shoot copper all day, it'll tear your barrel up after a while, unless you're just super anal and you're not going high volume shooting through every single one of your guns. It's just the way that is.
The point, though, the argument, well, the reply that I would have to the devil's advocate coming from G-Webs is that the science isn't complete there. And even if it is affecting these animals negatively, it's not affecting them large enough that it's affecting their population. The condors are brought up, and I argue that it has nothing to do with their population. Their population is their population, not related to
their problem is habitat more than that, and that's a whole other.
Right. So it's
well, and I think a point could be played that how are you going to point to just the lead in bullets as to the problems that the condors have? Because obviously it's the emissions from vehicles, it's the encroachment in their territories. It's all kinds of things.
I'm pretty sure those giant wildfires y'all have every year probably aren't good for them either.
No,
but see, God forbid you do controlled burns and cut back some fire breaks, because that would hurt the environment.
Wherever possible, we should avoid sacrificing our personal freedoms and lifestyles for something that's unproven, particularly if you look at it and you go, well, it's no sweat off my back, that's not a big deal. Those are exactly the things we should be fighting against.
Okay, well, let me put it a different way, because hold on, Quirk, crazy.
All right.
It's a good subject. Okay, go ahead.
No, as long as go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say again, devil's advocate, but I agree. I'm not even going to play devil's advocate for some reason to remove our rights, because that ain't happening. But what I am going to suggest is, can't we as a community take a look at it and decide, hey, let's all take a step back, or at least let's remember there's an option of using steel, so that we don't create more of this problem. And if anything, it's going to at least make a case for anybody on our side to go, look, we can regulate ourselves a little bit. You don't have to touch our rights. We know when we think there might be an issue, and even though the science isn't proven, we're willing to take this minor step here or there to try to accommodate. Because, again, why does tradition have to dominate? Why do we have to do something just because we did?
Yeah,
I would totally agree with that. I would say that when they made the move from lead shot to non-lead for the waterfowl, there wasn't a big uproar from the community. I mean, they understood, even if they didn't like it.
So the only thing I could say there is, G-Webs, I think you're right. Let the market kind of dictate. Remember, because these rounds already exist. And it would be easy for, NRA Hunting Magazine would come out and say, given the material types, lead, tungsten, or whatever the material is, you get better ballistics with a heavier bullet. You might be able to take out a larger animal with a lesser caliber than you normally would, even though it costs more. Even though it's more expensive, you get a better bang for your buck in terms of your hunt. Because if you get a lot of 1%er yuppie people like myself, we may only get out and go hunting once every 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And what would you rather spend? Would I rather buy 50 rounds of lead core ammunition or 10 rounds of super high dollar tungsten heavy stuff that will be better bang for my buck in regards to killing that elk or whatever it is. So you can make that argument.
I think that baby's pro lead though. He did not like the idea.
Yeah, he's pro lead.
I just wanted to also bring up that I think
Ryan, it was uranium 235, I believe.
I don't think we have to be limited by materials that we use. I think there's all kinds of potential in new materials. I threw polymer projectiles up there as an example, but there's things that all I'm suggesting is there's things that exist now that maybe our grandparents wouldn't have even thought about. That would be so common. So. Who knows if we can't come up with some corn
things?
It's going to be
we could make some crazy high-density cornstarch. Is all I'm saying. And then all of a sudden we figure out we can have an unlimited supply of projectiles that are
to be market-driven. It's going to have to be reasonably cost-effective,
Yeah, I don't mean end use though. I'm just saying if we refuse to even try, then the innovation just doesn't come. But I think if people are willing to try like that USMC ammo, bringing it back to that, like you're doing, that's then there will be more companies willing to come up and try some crazy idea.
So there is one California caveat to this law, and I don't know if this is pure FUD because someone told me it in the club. I didn't read it for myself, so take this for what it's worth. There's a caveat in the law that states if going off of lead causes an increase in forest fires, which is possible due to steel core and all the hysteria, using steel core in the wilderness can start fires. If they do a study or something along those lines and they find out that using steel core at certain situations, shooting at a certain kind of rock, for example, causes a spark which could start a fire, then it'll actually, I believe, either turn over the law or require that it takes longer before they roll it out, which is also crazy, but
All right, now that there's a law.
So are they
with this,
anti-dragon breath there?
Yes. But I want to give everybody a chance to give a quick shout out here. I want to thank everybody for joining, but I'll be shutting this down here in a second. One Bad Marine has the after chat. So tune into his channel once I end this. Does anybody have anything to say?
Yeah,
Shenanigans.
Thanks for the chat. It was a good chat, 2 hours, and I think we stayed on subject the entire time, right?
Yeah, I think it was really good.
I got a quick shout out. Everybody check out Matt Martin at Vehement Knives, vehementknives.com, and at Facebook and on YouTube. He makes some amazing stuff, and he's trying to build up his YouTube channel and so on.
If you could put the link in the internal and over at Gun Channels, that would help a lot too, Huck.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got back. I'm getting on it.
Okay, I do have
That's right, Huck. You tell him.
I do have a new series of videos coming out here, and I want to bring this up at the end of the chat. I put the first one in the internal for everybody to check out. I'll post it over at Gun Channels as well here in a second. But it's going to be the Quark Slash series. Yes, I am using 2 liters, but I'm wrapping the 2 liters in different type of material like leather, denim, winter jacket, stuff like that to see how well a knife slashes through that material. So for those that were complaining about me cutting through just a 2-liter bottle, well, there's more substance to it. It's still a 2-liter bottle because I don't want to go and waste money on meat or something like that and do that. So that's my shout out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching tonight. Again, One Bad Marine has the after chat. Thanks, Ryan, for coming out. You were a breath of fresh air. You fit right in. Thank you, everybody, for watching.